The one, the only Chris Sabat. Come on up, Chris.
I'm sorry, you caught me at the end of the day, so I don't run as fast and I'm not as exciting.
But you still have the great voice, so
Yeah,
that's all we care about. That's it.
I love it when there's sign language people here. Because I get to learn all sorts of new words. I'm not going to do it right now.
But he may later. I love it.
How's it going? This is actually really refreshing. This has been a fun weekend. I did this convention because I am from Houston. Hi.
H-Town.
I am from south of Houston. I went to Clear Creek High School. I don't know if you guys. Are you from Houston?
No.
No. Okay.
No, I'm originally from San Antonio.
You wouldn't know what it is.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Award-winning, excellent school, top school in the nation. Okay, I don't know anything. It might be a good school. It was a good school for me, I guess. But yeah, I grew up in Houston. I grew up in League City. You got anyone from League City?
Yes.
No one from League City here, huh?
My cousin lives in League City. Does that count?
Oh yeah, it does.
Okay,
yeah, give her a shout.
Okay.
Tell her I said hey.
I will.
We had a really great McDonald's there.
Is that it? Just one McDonald's?
That was it. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, this has been a very quiet, refreshing convention for me because last week, actually it was like 2 weeks ago, I was at New York Comic Con. And it was like the polar opposite of this convention. Like remember when you guys were downstairs and you could actually walk from place to place and you didn't get pushed or punched or something like that? Yeah, that's the opposite of what it's like at New York Comic Con. It's like wall-to-wall people. You can't get into any panels. Like autographed signings for anybody takes like 3 or 4 hours. It's the worst. But I'm glad we're here because this is so chill. I have a family member here today. This is my cousin-in-law over here.
Hey, cousin, everybody shout out, say, hey, cuz. You just embarrassed the heck out of her.
I know, I did. That's my job. I had people here coming up to me this weekend going, hey, so do you remember so-and-so? I'm like, yeah, that's my, I'm that guy's daughter. You went to school with him. I'm like, it's crazy to me that there are adults that are children of people that I went to school with.
Can I ask you a question, though? I mean, the way you said that guy's daughter, he was the daughter? Because that voice was like, I'm that guy's daughter.
That guy's daughter. No, I think it was a dude from high school. I think his name was Chad Sunbeck or something like that.
But he's not a daughter.
It was her.
Yay!
Yeah, future father-in-law.
Thank you.
Is this fiance here? No. Good, I won't bust you. Okay. Okay, he's your secret Spider-Man that you hang out with at conventions. I get it. We all have one. Okay, so let's chat for a little while. Oh, I'm Chris Sabat, by the way. I don't know. Let me introduce myself to you too.
Chris Sabat.
Hi,
yes,
how's it going?
Pleasure. How you doing?
I'm the voice of a guy named
Yes.
Show called Dragon Ball Z. You familiar with that show?
You know it. Come on.
He's really angry and talks like this all the time. He has a perpetual case of hemorrhoids. No, it's serious. You young people who are laughing, you'll understand later. Because you all have iPhones and it's all going to be a problem for you. You know all those hours that you spend hiding in the bathroom so you don't have to do something else? That's where hemorrhoids are born. Too deep of a topic for this room, I think. Too deep.
Dude, that's too deep for me.
Sorry, it's too deep for you.
I'm teasing.
I was in another show after Dragon Ball Z. How many of you guys watched Yu Hakusho, actually? Yeah! Woo! I played a guy named Kubara. He's sounds kind of like a dumb Vegeta. And Yu Hakusho was a show called Yu Hakusho for you. And it was a show that came on right after when Dragon Ball was kind of ending its run. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Yu Hakusho, and everyone who watches Yu Hakusho understands this, is it was kind of like the cool show that you watched if you didn't want to admit that you were watching Dragon Ball. Mm-hmm. And everybody who watched Yu Hakusho thought they were the only person watching it.
Really?
But it turns out everybody was watching Yu Hakusho. That was an amazing show. For a billion years, I've played a pirate. His name is Zoro, and he's on a show called One Piece. Yes. And I was trying to explain to Taryn, she works with me this weekend. She works with my agency that gets me to go to conventions, and I really, really appreciate everything she does for me. She is totally anime stupid. She knows nothing about anime at all, so she asks a bunch of silly questions. She's like, so is Dragon Ball like the longest running anime? I'm like, no. And I was about to tell her about One Piece, but we got interrupted. But One Piece currently has what? How many episodes? Does anyone know what we're up to now?
Over 900.
Over 900 episodes.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think when they were around 700, the mangaka, the guy who drew it, said he was about halfway through. So my guess is there could be close to 1,500 episodes of that show.
Holy cow.
By the time it's done, that's a long show.
That's a great show, though.
It's a great show to be on.
Yeah. He's getting paid.
Yeah. Well, Zoro is a fun character to play because he doesn't actually have to talk that much. He just drinks beer, he takes long naps, and he wakes up. He does awesome things with 3 or more swords. And then he goes back to sleep. So, and then, like, Luffy's the main character. He's the guy who has to talk all the time.
Okay.
But anyway.
Now, people wish they could have a life like that.
Yeah. And then somehow I started doing a bunch of other voices. I guess someone told me they were looking on a website called Behind the Voice Actors. And I guess I've done like 650 characters in anime at this point, which is nuts. That's what happens when you stick around an anime studio for 20 years. You just do a lot of voices. Recently, I'm doing literally my favorite voice I've done in a long time. And I have to be very careful and put a disclaimer on this. Vegeta will always be my love. He will always be like the character that's closest to my heart because he's been around for like 20 years. But All Might is a character that's unlike anything I've ever played before. He's the coolest, best character. All Might in My Hero Academia. Are you all watching My Hero Academia? Yeah! That show is awesome. I think between the Astros game that's happening tonight and the AVC convention that's happening like several hours from here that has some of the other My Hero Academia the actors in it, I think that's what's helped me have a nice relaxing weekend this weekend. It's been awesome.
That's a great thing.
So
Sure.
we are going to probably get to some questions.
Yes.
Some.
Just a few.
If you're nice. Yeah. But she actually pulled together some questions from that they pulled from their social media. So let's see.
I'm going to ask those now. Do
you should
mind?
ask those questions. Let's do it.
I think so. Because, the fans want to hear something. If they put down questions, we got to ask them. Okay? So here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. What are some of your favorite things you've learned about Vegeta over the course of the Dragon Ball Super?
Let's see. Well, I think my favorite thing, that's a good question. My favorite thing that I've learned about Vegeta is that he actually loves his wife. I think that was the coolest revelation in Dragon Ball Super. In fact, I wasn't even sure that Vegeta liked Bulma that much until Super. It's like, I think he was stuck with her for a little while. I guess when you find out that you've already had a child with them who's from the future, I guess you don't have much of a choice. That's how it should always happen. You should always meet your children first and then find out who your wife is going to be. That could be dangerous, actually, especially for Rachel's parents. I'm just kidding.
That's hilarious. Okay. All right, we have another fan question here from the internet. Do you have a favorite scene, something you'd enjoy doing again if you could?
Favorite scene? Probably one of my favorite scenes in all of the shows I've ever worked on was the Majin Vegeta sacrifice that he does against Majin Buu. I'm not like when he blows himself up, you know the scene. He's wearing the shirt. You all have the T-shirt. I mean, it's Majin Vegeta was probably my favorite part of the Dragon Ball series. I think it definitely peaked at like the Majin Vegeta versus Goku fight. So I'd say I wouldn't want to do that scene again, though.
Why?
Because it was hard. It was very painful.
Yeah.
I don't like to do a lot of Vegeta scenes again because they really hurt the first time. let's see, another show. If I could do the episode again, how many of you guys have actually watched a show called Pop Team Epic? Okay, 1. I've heard like
2.
3.
I heard 2. 3.
It is a bizarre show, and I would maybe if you're here to if you like Dragon Ball Z, you might not like this show. It doesn't make any sense. It's the weirdest show I've ever been on. I play a little blonde girl named Piccolo, and it's just this bizarre show that came from Japan that originally was like a 4-panel like comic strip, sort of, that they turned into a bizarre show. It's kind of like weird when Rick and Morty is the weirdest. It's the weirdest of that.
Seriously.
And so I play the voice of this girl named Piccolo, and it makes fun of all other anime, basically. And then halfway through the show, it like starts over again, and it's the same exact show, except they change the voices to 2 girls. And it's 2 women for the rest of it. And then the next episode, half the show is one cast, and then it rewinds, and it's 2 more people. It's the weird, like, it's such a bizarre show. Like, I don't think, probably hands down one of the weirdest shows I've ever worked on. She just sounds like me. And in Pop Team Epic, there are these weird little interstitial parts. It's called Bob Team, and I play that in every episode. And they're these poorly drawn, weird girls that are obsessed with Japanese culture. So they'll go like, "Ooh, a panda, so cute." That's literally the best girl voice I've got.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, that's it. Like I don't know. Listen to my voice. It's very hard to do a girl's voice for me. Very hard for me to make a girl's voice come out of my mouth. Anyway.
I love it. All right. Next question from a fan. If you could tell something to one of your characters at the beginning of the series, something that might help them avoid something or improve a situation, what would it be?
I probably would go and tell Yamcha that the poor guy is doomed. Yeah,
wow.
Yamcha is this character in Dragon Ball. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Dragon Ball, the whole series, I'll just explain it real quickly. There's a show called Dragon Ball. It was only like something less than 100 episodes. And it starred like a little kid, Goku. And then there was this guy named Yamcha. And even though he was afraid of girls, he was a pretty cool character and had some pretty cool moves. And then at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, he seems like he's a pretty cool character. And then the Android saga happens, and everything goes downhill from there. Like, he gets, it's right before the Android saga, he gets blown up. He just dies a bunch of times in the show. And then at the end of the series, he's basically just hanging out with Goku's wife, Chi-Chi, hoping that Goku dies, because Chi-Chi's his last hope, I think. I was telling you about Vegeta and Bulma. Like, Vegeta sees his son from the future, and then he realizes that Bulma is going to be his wife someday. That was Yamcha's girlfriend at one point. Oh. So, like all nice guys, he loses his girlfriend to like the worst person. Like, we laugh now, but it's true. It's like girls date terrible people, and in general. Until they realized they needed a Yamcha all along. They needed a dork. Marry a dork, okay? Like, get out of your system, hang out with Vegeta for a minute, but marry a dork, ultimately. That's my advice. You're welcome.
Best advice all day.
This is free advice. This is free advice.
Love it. Okay. You're a dad
By
now.
the way, the people that they were going to date are all at the Astros game right now, so...
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
gotcha. Good to know.
Everyone yesterday, by the way, they had to switch out translators because I wore the first one out. Like, yeah, she cried tears of pain, but also joy. Yeah.
Keep going. I love this.
But she really wishes, she's hungry, you see. And she wishes she had a corn dog from the state fair because they're delicious. Okay, there's apparently no hand gesture for corn dog. Sort of is. Sort of is.
You try.
In sign language, do you spell it the first time and then make up a hand gesture for it that you use from there on out? Like once you spelled corn dog and then did this, do you just invent new words as like new hand gestures as you go along? Is that yes or no? Like sort of? Once you establish this corn dog, I go back to corn dog okay. New words invented every day.
I love it. All right. We have another question from the internet. You're a dad now.
Yes. Thank you, internet.
Which is awesome. Congratulations.
I have 2 daughters. They're named Hero and Nova, and they were here with me today for a little bit.
How old were they?
Hero is 8 and Nova is 4.
Oh, lovely. That's
Hero
great.
is like super type A, little anxiety, very smart, like super advanced, likes art, she's a Harry Potter fan. Nova is 4 and a complete dork and just can fart on command. Great
talent.
She is me. Like she is literally me. I can go Nova, fart, and then she will fart.
Wait, fart on command.
She can fart on command.
Wow.
No, it's true. She's gonna hate these videos when she gets older.
All right. Well, has actually being a dad helped you when you're playing All Might?
Yes, actually. That's a good question because All Might, I think that's why I like All Might right now, because when you become a parent, and if there's a couple of you out there with your kids, you do start to think about things like what skills you're passing on to your children or what bad habits, like teaching them to fart. Yeah, fart. Learn that one, fart. It's a good one. And so, yeah, like, I don't know if it's helped me play All Might, but it certainly has made me a lot more emotional when I play that character. Like, I cried 4 times recording the first episode, first or second episode. It was, like, really emotional show for me. There's also a scene where All Might is talking to Midoriya's, good luck with that one. He's the main character in the show. He's talking to Midoriya's mom and says, like, you know, I need to protect him a little bit more. I've tried to instruct him, I've tried to teach him, but I also need to be more of somebody who will protect your son as well. Anyway.
That's nice.
Are there any, by the way, at this point, are there any questions out there?
Yes. All right.
She can ask it.
Actually, what I need to do, because we have several, if you can kind of head towards the microphones, it would help. Hello.
Wow, they're already there.
Okay. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to get started off to the right over here. My right, your left.
I like that Rachel's going to go ask a question, even though she can literally just ask me over a text message, but that's cool.
But she wants everyone to hear her question. That's what that is. Okay. Over here,
Rachel,
please.
I know I could message you personally, but I might ask it out loud.
I love it. Let's start over here, please. Go ahead.
Christopher, would you cosplay as a Vegeta to the Comic-Con convention?
No, I would not. Because usually to cosplay as any character, you have to be somewhat physically fit. At least any character from Dragon Ball. I could probably go as Ox King. It'd be the closest I could do.
And last question, would you do the voice of Vegeta saying Kamehameha?
That's a weird thing to say. Kamehameha? Is that how it works?
Hey, that's good enough.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great question. Thank you. All right, sir.
Okay, so if you were to hang out with one of your characters for like a day, who would it be and why?
I wouldn't hang out with Vegeta because he wouldn't even talk to me. It's like, why am I doing this? Let's see. I'm trying to think. All Might would be fun a little bit. Yeah, he'd be busy. He'd probably break my arm trying to teach me some move or something. Let me think about that. Hold on. Wow. I think I wouldn't mind hanging out with Zoro. because he seems like a decent guy, and we get to be on a boat for a day. That sounds like fun. Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Over here, please.
So, being someone who wants to get into voice acting and is currently trying to like practice and trying to get into like small little activities, what kind of steps did you take to like get into actual big projects?
Well, the thing is, the voiceover business has been changing dramatically over the last 20 years. So when I was there, it was a different situation. And I've joked in the past about, like, if you want to do as many voices as I did in anime, you need to find a production company that makes anime that's moving to your town and be the first employee there. So that's what I did. That's very rare. Nowadays, things have changed. Like, there are people that are still getting lucky breaks, or people who are meeting people and getting kind of breaks in the industry. But these days, it's a lot about creating your own like material, creating your own art. And it used to be where you couldn't record stuff at home realistically or where it sounds good. But now there's technology out there that allows you to record like studio quality stuff at home. There are animators out there who are doing incredible work on their home computers. And these days, like, getting in the traditional way, which was just take a couple classes and then hopefully you meet somebody or send in your demo tape and hope for the best. Those days aren't happening as much. I recommend taking as many classes as you can, especially with people who are in the industry. You are in Houston, which is good. That is a town where they dub anime. So Sentai Filmworks is here. Seraphim, I think, is here. Those are both similar companies. But I know that a lot of people do, anime work here in town. It's an easier question because when people ask me this in like Rooster Poot, Arkansas, how are you going to do that one? Rooster Poot, Arkansas. Arkansas. Okay. Do you know what's so funny? The sign language for Arkansas is this. It's the same as fart. That's weird. No, my advice to you is to hone your skills and treat voice acting like it's the center of a dartboard, but you want to throw as many darts as you can. So get into as many industries as you can that surround voice acting. Like, get into helping produce films, or volunteer on film sets, or get a job working at a production company where they do voiceover work. Try and kind of sneak in kind of a side door so that and keep working on your skills at home, so in that moment where the voiceover guy doesn't show up or the voiceover lady doesn't show up for a session, you can say, hey, I could do that real quick for you if you wanted to. Or a bit of advice I've been giving recently is learn how to be a video editor, because I work on a lot of commercials, and when you go in to cut the commercial, a lot of the times the person who did the video edit for the commercial, their voice is on it for the timing. So they voice it, and a lot of times it sounds terrible. But I've seen a lot of voiceover people who are editors who will do the scratch voiceover track, and the client gets so used to hearing it, they end up using them for the commercial. So that's just just be as diverse as you can, because voice acting is getting harder and harder to get into, because it's an amazing industry and everyone wants to get into it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Question?
Out of all seasons that are currently available for My Hero Academia, which season was your favorite?
My favorite season is still the first season. I know that's not a fan favorite thing, but as the guy who played All Might, those early episodes where he's training Midoriya and getting to know him, those are still some of my favorites. Like, it's such an endearing part of the series.
I have one more question.
Sure.
If you could voice a different character from My Hero Academia, who would it be?
Before we started working on My Hero Academia, I would have said, I think I would love to play Bakugo. But then I remembered that Bakugo's like Vegeta, and Clifford is going to have no voice at the end of the series. So I definitely would rather play any other character that doesn't scream a lot. So maybe, perhaps Todoroki. I don't know. I wouldn't want to play. I guess, who would want to trade All Might's voice for anything else? I think this microphone is dying. Poor microphone. We'll have to trade at some point.
We'll have to. Just a second. All right. Thank you, ma'am, for your question. Sir, go ahead.
So are there any shows that you've done and you've come back and looked at the final product and just kind of gone home and been like, oh, why did I do that?
Let's see. I'm trying to think. There was a moment in. Oh wow! Check this out. This is when you have a really good agent that actually just have an extra wireless microphone on them at all times.
If it was, it's not on. Do you turn it on?
So that they don't turn it on for you, which is fine. That's
Spit
cool.
on the floor. You can spit on the floor. Yeah.
So there's only a lot of the early Dragon Ball that we worked on. We were working in a bank building with no air conditioning, and we had really crappy recording equipment that took forever to work on. And there were a lot of times, when we were recording, if you wanted to do another take, so you recorded something and you wanted to, I didn't like that, I want to do it again. Sometimes that old equipment just took 5 minutes to reset itself, because we were using these old giant tape decks that when you would have to rewind the thing, it would have to just freak out for a second, and it would just sit there. So sometimes we would just decide, I guess that was good enough. And there was one case where Piccolo has just returned back. He's been wished back to life, and he's feeling really good about himself. And it's like the most embarrassing line of all time. Yeah. And I don't think it was written very well, but I was trying to think of another option to put in its place. I'm like, whatever, it'll be fine. No one will notice. It'll be okay. And I regret it every day of my life. It's because Piccolo comes back and he goes, yes, I can do this. I feel great. Yes. It was the worst. That would never happen these days. But I didn't know what to do, and I thought, no one's gonna watch this show. That was a big mistake. A lot of people have seen that show.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. All right, sir?
I was okay with that Piccolo line. I remember that. It was a little awkward, but it was okay.
It was super awkward.
Can you tell us about when you first became a part of the Dragon Ball series, and if you had auditioned for any other characters, at the very beginning?
Yeah, at the very beginning. I had been working in radio before that. And before I worked on Dragon Ball, I was working in radio. So I was doing a lot of radio shows and commercials and stuff like that. And somebody came to me and said, hey, you do voice stuff, right? I'm like, yeah. I work for this tiny company. They have 3 employees, and they're working on some Japanese show. I'm like, oh, because I was like, that show that you work on? She goes, yeah. Because her job was a rotoscoper, and what she would do is go frame by frame, taking parts that are inappropriate for television out of it. She would have to go frame by frame and paint the HFIL onto their bodies for the... Do you guys remember when it was called the Home for Infinite Losers? Because apparently you couldn't say hell on TV. Or they would turn Master Roshi's beer into grape juice or something like that for TV. Anyway, I was like, I want to be on that show. So I came and I auditioned for it. And the first part I got was for Yamcha. And they ended up recording a show called Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle. It was like a direct-to-VHS movie. And after that, a month later, they contacted me like, hey, this was kind of a test to see if we could do this, and we're just interested to see if you might want to help come in and cast and direct the Dragon Ball show. I'm like, I don't know, what's that show? And they're like, that's a show you were just working on. I'm like, oh, okay. There's no internet, so I don't know how to look anything up. There was no internet. There was nothing you could do to look. The only people who knew about Dragon Ball back in those days were people who were watching it at 5 o'clock in the morning, which were actually a lot of really old people. And then people who would go anime conventions back in the old days, or knew people from Japan. But I was like, sure, I guess so. And that's why I came in and we held a bunch of auditions. and I would audition for them too because I was a voice actor, so I did. I didn't, but I'm not sure if I got all these roles like Piccolo and Vegeta and Yamcha and Mr. Popo and Kami and all the dragons and Gaz and Mez and Raccoon and Jace and Zarbon and Icarus and all these other characters. I'm not sure if I got them because I was always the best choice, but because I was on salary, and they're like, well, let him do it, man. He wants to do it. He'll do it for free. So I think that might have had a lot to do with it. But before then, I hadn't actually done any anime work at all. I'd never done it. I'd only done some stage and acting work and some stuff on the radio. That was about it.
All right. Thanks for your question. Ma'am, go ahead.
I just wanted to know what your favorite episode of Dragon Ball Z was and why.
My favorite episode of Dragon Ball Z, let's see if it's got to be Z.
Or any of the series.
Oh, it could be any of it?
Well, don't go past GT. I haven't finished Z.
I'm not going to talk. We don't talk about GT in here.
Uh-oh.
I'm just kidding. I met someone earlier, actually, who was talking about, he's like, I have a secret. I'm like, what is it? I like Dragon Ball GT. I'm like, it's okay. Like, you're fine. Dragon Ball GT, people didn't like it in Japan because Akira Toriyama wasn't involved in it. The creator of the show wasn't involved in it. But I think the guy who directed GT did an excellent job. His name is Chris Bevins. I think he did a much better job handling that show, I think, than even Japan did. So it was kind of fun. My favorite episode in Dragon Ball, I think some of my favorite stuff has actually been the movies that we worked on, the last 3 movies. I loved all the early Saiyan stuff in the new Broly movie. How many of you guys saw the Broly movie? It was amazing. Let's see. And I think probably one of the best moments was when Beerus slaps Bulma and Vegeta screams like, "What have you done to my wife?" It's like amazing. It was so cool. That's probably it.
Thank you.
All right. Ma'am, question?
Hi. I technically got 2 questions.
What?
One is...
I just saw your movie. It was great, by the way.
Let's put a smile on that face. So I personally love Yu Hakusho, but besides your character Kuwabara, what character would you want to be and why?
Besides in any other show?
No, like in Yu Hakusho itself.
Man, I wouldn't want to be, again, it's so hard to pick another character because Kuwabara is so loving. I wouldn't mind playing, I thought Hiei might have been a fun character to play. I always liked Hiei.
And the second question is, since you do a lot of different voices and make your voices sound deep and raspy, do you do any certain vocal warm-ups for that?
Not necessarily. When I know, though, before I go in to record Vegeta, it does sound like I have some sort of Tourette's or something in the office, because I will walk around just for a minute to warm up my voice, and I'll just go like, ha, ha, ah, okay, I'm ready. Like that's my warm up for Vegeta. Yamcha's like, I'm dead. Woohoo! Yeah.
All right, thank you for that. Sir?
Sure.
So for a lot of the Zorro lines, he's usually got a sword in his mouth.
Uh-huh.
Do you record those with something in your mouth, or do you just
with
eat
swords?
while you do it?
Yeah, I actually put a sword in my mouth.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's how you do it. No, see, the Japanese have this magical power with their characters to be able, for Zorro to still have a sword in his mouth, and he speaks, and it's not like he has anything in his mouth, because I guess for some dumb reason they want you to understand what he's saying. Because if you've ever tried to put a sword in your mouth and read any line, it's just not going to work. So the director was like, maybe we should use a pencil or something like that. I'm like, no, I'm not using a pencil. I'm not using any object, because I'm going to lose it, and then I'm going to have to like put some stranger's object or something, like some pencil that belongs to someone else in my mouth. So I wash my hands, and I just use the end of my finger. That's what I do. It's just like this. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Sir, question.
All right, mine's like more of a 2-part, but first one being real short. Did you enjoy your part? What was your favorite scene you did for the Kenichi Strongest Disciple?
Oh man,
series?
It's been so long. I can't actually remember that show very well. All I know is that he really liked beer. That's it.
And yelling.
And yelling.
Second one, what would be the process to get in with your agency or your manager to get you into a new if Netflix were to do a certain anime and someone wanted you to do a certain character for that.
I have a couple of agents. I would. The best place to go would be to contact the Mary Collins Agency in Dallas. That's who I'm represented by for talent.
Because I'm trying to let Netflix know that I'm interested in helping them direct something and film.
Oh, for that.
An anime
if you want to direct,
siren.
help them direct anime. That's a very long process.
Yeah, and I have an idea for someone you can be from a certain.
Oh, that's
that
really
I
cool.
Really loved reading.
Yeah, Netflix is a tricky network. In order to do any production for them, you have to fill out like all this paperwork, and you have to show them pictures of the armed guards that you're at your door and stuff like that. Like, it's almost as tricky as when you work on an Xbox title, or if they want to give you one of their test units to use when you're testing out the game, you have to give Microsoft this whole detailed plan about what your security is in your office because they don't want them to be stolen.
Oh.
And I remembered when I submitted mine, I actually submitted mine where I showed, like I did this detailed picture of like how my studio is located on the side of a mountain and that it's carved into the side of a mountain and that there's a other perch that has somebody who's mounted with a sniper rifle and they still let me do it. They didn't even think, I think they must have thought it was funny, so they let me still do the job. Anyway.
Oh, that's
All right,
funny.
thank you, Master Sakaki.
We are running short on time, so we only have time for 2 more people to ask questions.
Perfect. Go for it, Gohan.
Have you seen anything from the manga from After Super?
I've heard there is manga from After Super, but we've been so busy working on the dub that I haven't had a chance to check it out. The last manga for Super that I read was one I would recommend to all of you. It's called The Case of Being Reborn as Yamcha. Have you guys seen that before? It's a manga. It's official manga done by a fan that they made official, and it's literally about what like this guy who's obsessed with Dragon Ball Z, and he falls on his head because he's following around some attractive girl in some creepy Japanese way, and then he falls over, bonks his head, and he wakes up as Yamcha at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z with all the knowledge of Dragon Ball. So Yamcha becomes the hero of the Dragon Ball story, and it's pretty funny, actually.
It's actually kind of funny because that was going to be my second question of what you thought about that manga.
It's one of my favorites. It's so funny. Take care.
Thank you. And our final question is left to you.
What? This better be good.
I was going to say, if I were to message you all the questions I have, you would have a lengthy paragraph.
That's true. That's
'Cause
true.
I have so many
Your
questions.
sisters told me to be careful of you.
My first question is, Power Rangers was my childhood growing up. If you could be one Power Ranger, which one would you like to be?
I would be either the Green Ranger or the Black Ranger because I just like those two colors. Because I am really good friends with Jason David Frank, and apparently people like the Green Ranger. So that's the one I would be.
And I have one final question. Do you ever move around in the booth while recording?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like most people do. Like it's a very physical, voiceover is a very physical job. Even when I'm just reading a commercial for a car commercial, you'll move your hands around, and it's good to kind of keep your body moving because you need to make sure that you're always providing yourself air, and I don't know, sometimes it's just the animation of what you're doing helps you with the read. Like if I'm reading something and I need to keep it kind of smooth, I'll do this with my hand or something dumb like that. But when I'm dubbing anime, particularly, like you almost can't help it because your job is to provide the voice for the character that you see on the screen. So basically you're trying to watch that character and be that person. So if Vegeta has his arm out, sometimes I'll have my arm out just for no reason. I don't know why. It's part of your job is to copy what you see. So
thank you.
Bye. See you soon.
All right. Now, wasn't that fun?
Wasn't it?
Oh my gosh.
So intimate.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Sabat. He is amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Chris Sabat, everybody.
Bye.
All right.
This is Goku. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't forget to subscribe. Yeah!